You can see up and looking down. Right on day tomorrow will bring. Oh, you hear the voice of freedom. Telling you this can never be down. No matter how high reality seems, just hold on to the dream. Yeah.
That's right. You can win as long as you keep your head to the sky. We made it. Another week, another day, another chance to win. Live from Los Angeles, you're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't we love listening to the sounds of blackness every day? It's just sort of a nice little pick-me-up. A little optimism, a little shot of optimism for all of us. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, your host and Chief National Political Analyst for KBLA Talk 1580. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms like Instagram and Threads and Spill and X at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. That's DrNiiQuartelai. But guess what? If you just type in Dr. Nii, DrNii, boom, bam, boom. I pop right on up. Be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580 for your listening pleasure. Also, be sure to check out the open mic feature on the KBLA app. You can record a voice note that comes to me and the team, and you have a chance to weigh in on news of the day. Maybe it's something I said, something one of our guests said. It's something that's been sort of nagging at you. Whatever it is, utilize the open mic feature on the KBLA app, and we want to hear from you. And we just might amplify your voice right here on A More Perfect Union. Last but not least, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast and never, ever miss an episode. It's the More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580. Now, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off, more news coming from the Trump trial. Didn't think I'd be sharing this with you, but here we go. USA Today is reporting that a man sets himself on fire outside the Manhattan criminal courthouse. That's right. A man set himself on fire outside the courthouse where former President Trump's hush money trial is taking place. His condition and motives were unclear. Police identified him as Mac Azzarello, 37, of Florida. The shocking incident took place in full view of news cameras shortly after a full panel of 12 jurors and 6 alternates was seated for his hush money trial. Witnesses told sources that the victim tossed flyers into the air before dousing himself in fluid and setting it alight. Police and fire officials had no immediate comment. It wasn't clear what effect, if any, the man's emulation that's setting himself on fire will have on Friday's proceedings. But after a lunch break, defense lawyers were expected to plead with Judge Merchan to keep evidence of Trump's prior bad acts away from the jury. Yeah, with court back in session, Judge Merchan arrived and the prosecution raised an issue about restricting access to information tied to Michael Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, a potentially key witness in the case. Merchan engaged in a back and forth with Trump's lawyer, Emil Bove, when the judge scolded the lawyer, saying, "Don't interrupt me. I'm not interrupting you. You are. Have a seat." And so, fasten your seatbelt. Get ready, because you never know what's going to happen at the Trump trial. From news at home to news over to news, from news in New York to news in Washington, a bipartisan House coalition advances Ukraine aid. The Washington Post is reporting that a bipartisan coalition in the House, led by House Speaker Mike Johnson, has overcome a key procedural hurdle to advance a $95 billion foreign aid bill despite objections from the far right lawmakers. Now, the vote now puts the legislation to fund Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan on a likely track of passing the House on Saturday. It comes after Israel carried out a strike on Iran early Friday in retaliation for a barrage of missiles and drones launched by Iran last weekend. It's according to an Israeli official. The latest news from the Middle East did not appear to change the likelihood that the House would pass more aid to Israel, even though some Democrats are bluntly critical of the mounting civilian casualties in Gaza. Most Republicans are expected to back it. Plus, it includes humanitarian aid for Gaza, which is what Democrats want. Now, part of why we're reporting on this is because it's a rare coalition of Democrats and Republicans. Please note, 316 voted overwhelmingly to pass this procedural measure known as a rule to advance the four-part legislation just early this morning. And in a sign of how tenuous this move is for Republicans, more Democrats, 165, voted for the rule than Republicans at 151. Speaking of Israel, The Guardian is reporting that world leaders are urging calm after the Israeli drone strike on Iran ratchets up tensions. World leaders are urging calm today after Israel conducted a pre-dawn drone strike over Iran following a cycle of tit-for-tat attacks that crossed an important red line that has for decades held the Middle East back from a major regional conflict. There were tentative hopes late on today that the apparent strike attempt against an airbase near the city of Isfahan was sufficiently limited to fend off the threat of a bigger Iranian response and an uncontrolled spiral of violence between a nuclear power and a state with the capacity to develop nuclear weapons pretty quickly. According to Italy's foreign minister, speaking uh, uh, earlier today, the U.S. told the G7 foreign ministers meeting in Capri that it had received last minute information from Israel about a drone action in Iran. Israel's N12 news channel reported that Israel had also struck targets in Iraq and Syria, and explosions were reported in both countries. And so, lots of eyes on these tit for tat attacks that are afoot right now in the Middle East. But back here at home, the FBI chief says that Chinese hackers have infiltrated critical U.S. infrastructure. Chinese government linked hackers have burrowed into U.S. critical infrastructure and are waiting for just the right moment to deal a devastating blow. That's what the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, has warned. The Guardian is reporting that an ongoing Chinese hacking campaign known as Volt Typhoon has successfully gained access to numerous American companies in telecommunications and energy, water, and other critical sectors. With 23 pipeline operators targeted, Ray said in a speech at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, uh, uh, "This is, not uh, the kind of thing you want to hear from your FBI director. I'm just saying." They say China's developing the ability to physically wreak havoc on our critical infrastructure at a time of its choosing. That's what Ray told this 2024 Vanderbilt Summit on modern conflict and emerging threats. He added that its plan is to land low blows against civilian infrastructure to try to induce panic. Ray said it was difficult to determine the intent of the cyber pre-positioning, which was aligned with China's broader intent to deter the U.S. from defending Taiwan. Remember, China claims that democratically governed Taiwan is its own territory and has never renounced the use of force to bring the island under its control. Taiwan strongly objects to China's sovereignty, claiming uh, their sovereignty claims, and they say that uh, only the island's people can decide their future. Some Shaq news reported by the Griot. Shaq shares his first words he told his mentee Angel Reese following the WNBA draft. Jack had said that she's the same age as my children, so I only want the best for her. And when you have daughters, you know how to use the calm voice. That's what he said. After the Chicago Sky selected Reese as the 7th pick in the 2024 WNBA draft on Monday, O'Neal shared, quotes, "The first thing I told her is I was proud of her." O'Neal's become a mentor to Reese, who gained prominence during LSU's championship run in the 2023 March Madness tournament in the past year. And the basketball legend describes himself as Reese's, quotes, "understandable ear," noting that she can find solace in the advice he gives because of his 19-year career in the league, which started when the Orlando Magic selected him as the number 1 pick in the 1992 NBA draft. And finally, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention this anniversary that hits different for a generation, dare I say, you know, my generation of folks. 25 years later, the trauma of the Columbine high school shooting is still with us. Still with us. The massacre at Columbine on April 20th, 1999, during which 12 students and 1 teacher was killed, wasn't the United States' first mass shooting at a school, nor would it be the last. But media experts have told sources that it quickly became one of the most infamous, thanks in part to the advent of the 24-hour news cycle and the internet. And what felt like real time, the shooting sent shock waves through the Colorado community and the nation, shattering the belief that children were safe at school. USA Today is reporting that the trauma of Columbine still haunts the country 25 years later, including students who weren't alive to witness it. The massacre became a blueprint for dozens of copycats, led to major changes in school safety, and sparked an enduring legacy of activism as survivors pushed for better gun control and offer their support to the next generation of Americans affected by gun violence. And so today we are remembering the lives lost in the Columbine massacre, the Columbine school shooting that took place on April 20th, 1999. Just not too long ago, we had the deputy director of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention on this show, talking about everything that they're doing within their authority. And we're going to continue to amplify the work that folks are doing inside and outside of government to keep young people safe in schools. When we come forward, we're shifting gears a little bit. It is Pop Culture Happy Hour, and we are pleased to welcome back Al Reynolds, co-host of TGIF on Fox Soul. He's also an entertainment and pop culture correspondent, and he is back again with us when we come forward. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
Out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Reverend Gerald, host of Urban Family Focus here on KBLA Talk 1580 on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. In an effort to help reduce the impact of hypertension in our community, Providence is offering free hypertension assessments. The first 30 people to visit KBLA1580.com and use the link or QR code to register will receive 2 tickets to the Amazing Grace Conservatory presentation of Aladdin, A Whole New World for Real, at the Crenshaw Performing Arts Center, May 25th and 26th. Go to KBLA1580.com right now and be one of the first 30 to register for your hypertension screening and receive 2 tickets to Aladdin, compliments of Providence and KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Presenting Again Fling's love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Now they have everything they need to come to life. Dell Technologies and Intel are creating technology that loves ideas, loves expanding your business, evolving your passions. We push what technology can do. So great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to Now.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to welcome back to the show my friend, your friend, our friend, Judge Al Reynolds. You might recognize him as co-host of the hit show on Fox Soul, TGIF. He's also an entertainment and pop culture correspondent. And as if he wasn't busy enough, what's the deal? Now you're Judge Al Reynolds. What's that about?
That's right. I'm the judge of public opinion, the court of public opinion. I created this forum and this platform where we cover pop culture, situations that involve legal issues. I always have two legal beagles. I call them my two legal beagles. I have two lawyers that come on with me, and we break down pop culture legally. And it's been a ball, Nii-Quartelai, because you'd be surprised how many people would like a smarter form of pop culture. And I think, there's so much salaciousness out there. There's so much gossip out there that people like this elevated form of pop culture and education mixed. And in my case, in the court of public opinion, legal. So it's if you are a smart individual that loves to follow the law and also have logic to the chaos, then you should definitely join me 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on my show, The Court of Public Opinion.
Wow, so 2 p.m. Pacific. That's right
Yes.
after this show. And so you're saying that our leaders, learners, and listeners can tune
Just
in
like
to you
transition right on over and get you some good legal, what I call good legal smart tea.
All right, with the smart tea, we like that. We like that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of smart tea, we know that there are a lot of smart voters out there that are
Yes.
frustrated with President Biden over Gaza, and USA Today is raising the question as to whether or not Representative Ro Khanna can steer them back. President Biden's unwillingness to have a public discussion about U.S.-Israel policy vis-a-vis the Palestinian death toll in Gaza is fueling consternation among young voters. And this is what we're hearing from organizers in different parts of the country. And Ro Khanna, one of the representatives in the U.S. House, has made it his business to soothe disappointed Democrats, frustrated young voters, embittered Arab Americans, and disillusioned progressives in states that will decide the general election, a likely rematch between Biden and former President Trump. What do you make of this? Should we see more Democrats out there, just engaging, young people and Arab Americans and disappointed Democrats more directly?
Absolutely. So this is the best thing about it. Young voters are not like the millennials. It's not like the generation behind me or my generation or generation in front of me. These young voters are like, we want answers and we're not happy, and someone needs to talk to us and hear us, and especially if you want our vote. And so since President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have decided that they are going to stand clear of these when they're out in the field, it's very smart for them to tap someone to give people a voice, because when you're not heard, you turn to a space where you can be heard. And we see that young voters who are leaning more towards the Democrat vote are saying, hey, if you're not trying to listen to us, we'll take our vote somewhere where we are heard. And I hate to say that the alternative is under the Donald Trump, but they would rather be heard than not. I think this is a brilliant idea. I think most young people just want a forum, like I said, to share their ideas and their concerns and not be felt or treated like, oh, you're just kids. What do you know about life? What do you know about politics? And what do you know about America problems?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is the first step in the right direction. Now, ultimately, Biden and Kamala and Vice President Harris has to come up out of that shadow, and they too have to figure out a way to engage more younger voters, especially with issues that they don't want to talk about.
Well, young people are clearly talking to Representative Ro Khanna. had hoped to quell anger among Arab Americans at the president in Michigan, and community leaders who refused to meet with the campaign officials. They actually agreed to sit down with Ro Khanna.
Right.
Now, the congressman who sits on Biden's National Advisory Board says that he was there in his personal capacity, and Khanna says that he went on his own because he didn't want to risk his meeting being canceled. And so, how's that for leadership?
Hey, I love it. Don't you love this? Don't you love this aggressive assertiveness of knowing what needs to be heard? And he doesn't look like the administration, and I think that's what makes it even better. I think Kahana has filled a space that's going to give him prevalence. Absolutely, if Biden is reelected, right? It's like almost like you can see him taking a more active role in the administration if Biden is reelected. I like this type of proactive stuff. This is something that as a voter who's an independent, who only votes, I cast my vote on who's the best candidate and not just simply in one Democrat or Republican. And I think I like people that are proactive, people that are listening to our voices, and people who are stepping forward and showing that that your concerns can be heard. I just, for me, this is a step in the right direction for me with the Democrats.
And speaking of step in the right direction, the Griot is reporting that Black LGBTQ plus voters could make the difference for Biden in the 2024 election. Election poll data and turnout trends of Black voters and voters who identify as LGBTQ plus signal the significant sway that the two groups could play in the outcome of the 2024 contest. And just to put it in some raw numbers, in addition to more Black Americans voting in 2020 than in any other presidential election since President Obama's reelection in 2012, voters who identified as LGBTQ plus in 2020, an increasingly growing population at least 20 million, well, they surged to its highest level of 7% of the electorate in U.S. history. President Biden won 92% of Black voters and 73% of LGBTQ plus voters in 2020. I guess I'm talking to the right person, Al Reynolds. So what do you make of this?
Listen, you got two of them right here. I'm in African American and I'm in the LGBTQ plus realm as well. This is what we know. We know that over 20 million Americans identify as LGBTQ plus. We know that more than half of them identify and have registered as Democrats. This is significant because, given what Trump's weigh in as it relates to the LGBTQ plus community, we've seen a lot of them abandon that side and come over to the Democrat side. And now we have to convince them to cast the vote in favor of Biden. I think just like I'm very clear. I know who put Biden in the White House. His first term, we know that there was African Americans in that voice and those people that really galvanized the whole election during election time. And I think we're going to see the same thing from the LGBTQ plus community because Trump is just not interested in our rights. He wants to take back same-sex marriage, as you know. He also just wants to tell us what we can and cannot do with our bodies, especially when you have the trans conversation, and we don't like it. We don't like it. We don't want to be policed in that form to the point where we are forced to do harm to ourselves and other people do harm to us. So I think Biden definitely needs to speak to the LGBTQ plus community a little bit more, needs to have more advocates in the space, including you, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, to maybe have him on the show here to show his support in both lanes, the African-American lane as well as the LGBTQ plus. And I just think that for him, he's got to pull out all of these strategies this year because, we can see every day that Trump is still leading in the polls. Trump is still galvanizing voters in his base. And in order for us to defeat him, we have to all come together, LGBTQ plus, African-American. We got to figure out what's going on with those women, why they are still a large number of women following Trump. And we just got to all come together to make sure that Biden gets back in that White House for another term.
Well, look, there's an open invitation for the president to join us here on A More Perfect Union anytime. The president, the vice president, all candidates that are running for president, they have an open invitation here. We can't be in the business of talking about building a more perfect union if we aren't talking about people sitting in those seats of power right now. When we come forward, Al, I want to get your reaction to this fairly recent phenomenon. We're talking about states allowing teachers to carry guns at school. There are a few states that are weighing the prospect of joining them. And then Instagram is testing blurring nudity in messages to protect teens from sextortion. We want to get Al's
You sure you want me to talk about this?
that and more. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. The University of Michigan's Poverty Solutions is releasing a report that shows home values in Detroit have risen by $3.9 billion since the city declared municipal bankruptcy. The report also shows that Black homeowners saw their housing wealth increase by $2.8 billion. University professor Jeffrey D. Mornoff says from their findings, wealth has increased a lot and fairly equitably. Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan says Detroiters who stayed in the city are seeing benefits in the form of housing wealth. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposed plan to borrow over $1 million to pay for housing and other development has hit a roadblock. The Black mayor's allies delayed a full city council vote on the measure. Mayor Johnson's goal is to borrow $250 million a year through 2028 to fund efforts to expand affordable housing and boost small businesses and nonprofits. A vote now could be held as soon as Friday. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Can your roof handle extreme weather? If you have leaks or a roof that is 20 years old or more, go to localroofs.com to schedule a free roof checkup and estimate. Get a new roof for as low as $198 per month on approved credit. Restrictions apply. Go to localroofs.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are letting NFL teams know that they are interested in trading their number 5 pick in the NFL draft. Chargers general manager Joe Ortiz said if an offer makes sense and improves the team, he will consider trading the pick. The number 5 pick in the draft could have a lot of value with teams trying to move up to get a quarterback. At least 4 quarterbacks could be chosen among the first 6 picks. Day 1 of the draft is Thursday. The NBA's play-in round wraps up tonight. Chicago takes on Miami for the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. The winner gets top-seeded Boston in the first round. Sacramento is at New Orleans. The winner gets the 8th seed in the West and will play number 1 Oklahoma City. Tomorrow night at 7 here on KBLA, join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough for Out of Bounds, sports talk with some flavor. You can join the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. Let's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number and put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
It's time for California Community College's Black Student Success Week. This week-long event, held April 22nd through the 26th, is an opportunity to focus on innovative approaches to ensuring Black and African American students succeed in their educational pursuits. Black Student Success Week 2024, building a better future together. The urgency is now. For more information, visit blackstudentsuccess.com. That's blkstudentsuccess.com.
Yo, come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Y'all to give us what we want. Y'all to give us what we need. Hey! I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chucky. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the power that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
And you're listening to a More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and really delighted to be in conversation with our friend, Judge Al Reynolds. You might recognize him as the co-host of Fox Soul's hit show TGIF. But that's not the only show that he's offering. The other one is offered where and at what time?
Okay, it's on YouTube. It's my YouTube channel, which is the @TheTheLal Reynolds, REYNOLDS. And the show is called The Court of Public Opinion. I'm the judge, and you and I, the people, the viewers and the listeners, they are the jury. So between the jury and the judge, we will give our ruling from the Court of Public Opinion. Now, we have 2 lawyers that will help us through each show, and it's on at 2 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel @TheLal Reynolds.
Well, this might be an issue that you might take up in the Court of Public Opinion. What states allow teachers to carry guns at school? Tennessee and Iowa are weighing whether or not to join them. Tennessee is joining a growing number of states taking steps towards arming teachers as the nation reels amid increasing numbers of school shootings. We just mentioned at the top of the show that we're coming up on the anniversary of the horrific Columbine massacre. I remember it just like it was yesterday in April 1999. I was in high school at the time. It continues to have a haunting effect, I think, on a whole generation of folks that remember what it was like to go to school before these mass become a mainstay phenomenon. After a former student gunned down 6 people at a Christian elementary school in Nashville last year, some of you might remember that Tennessee lawmakers passed a controversial bill in the state Senate that would allow some teachers to go armed in the classroom. The Covenant school shooter, armed with 2 assault-like rifles and a handgun, killed the head of the school, a teacher, a custodian, and 3 9-year-old students. As the bill awaits action in the House, students, parents, and others are staging vocal protests against allowing teachers to carry guns at school. Al, what say you? Should our nation's teachers, starting in places like Tennessee and Iowa, should they be carrying guns in the classroom?
Listen, I know that this seems kind of foreign, but more than 25 states already allow it. So I don't know why we don't know that. I think I know that because obviously I'm an educator, and I follow this type of stuff because of the recent surge. And it's not only happening in high schools and and elementary schools. It's also happening in colleges, and that kind of happened here at, I teach at Bowie State University as well. It happened here in the DMV, where there were shootings at Morgan State University. There were shootings at Bowie State University. So I think this idea of having teachers be able to arm themselves is not that, if it's not that new of a situation. It's not that new of a thing. B, though, this is what I say, because gun issues and talk around gun rights and all that stuff is very sticky. I think, however, if they're trained, just like you have to go through certain training to be a security person or on staff of safety at a university or at a school, if you are trained, I think that in places where there is high traffic or high possibility, I'm not necessarily against it. Now, what I am against is that it is out and not locked up, and that there's not a protocol or a policy or a procedure to follow if in some type of death threat situation. Now, that I'm not, I'm not open to just having it out. They have a license, they can have it in their desk. I'm definitely totally against that. But if there is a safe box, if there's a policy, a procedure, a protocol, that when a person feels like them or their students are in harm's way, and that's exercised, just like if you have a safety worker on campus, I'm okay with that, because it's just like having additional safety individuals on campus, in my opinion. Hopefully, though, we have teachers that are mature enough, right, and calm enough and will be trained enough not to overreact and put themselves in more harm than help's way.
Wow, we sure are putting a lot on teachers. I know here in California, a state with some of the nation's strictest gun laws, California allows non-law enforcement to carry guns without needing permission from the school district, but it prohibits teachers and other school employees from carrying them. Texas, Florida, Arizona, Mississippi, and South Dakota, they allow teachers and other employees to carry if they're designated school guardians or part of a program. And so we're seeing this hodgepodge across the country of different rules, different standards. Do you think that the federal government might weigh in, short of passing any meaningful sort of gun regulation? Do you think that they might weigh in on this issue related to teachers carrying guns in schools?
It's just so sticky. That's the thing. This is just such a gray, sticky area that I think eventually they will have to, because the last thing we want to hear, and you can already see it happening, right? Can't you read? You feel like you've already getting ready to read a story of a teacher misfiring a gun and something happening bad. So I totally get it. I think there probably would have to be some form of government intervention, or if not government intervention, there clearly has to be some type of government sanction with a protocol which would allow it to occur, right? And I want to be very clear. I am very worried about guns being in classrooms. So I don't want anyone to say that I'm advocating guns in classrooms. That's not what I'm advocating. What I'm advocating here is that teachers that find themselves in crisis mode, that have been trained just like the safety people that work on those campuses are trained, that they have the ability, given a protocol, right? And a procedure that they can then exercise it if needed. That's where I'm coming from. Because let me tell you something, the classroom, I'm an educator, I'm in the classroom every week. It's not the same. It's just not the same. It's not the same for people coming onto the campus, and it's not the same for the students that are sitting in those chairs. Just this week, we saw a young high school student in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, slap his teacher twice to the force of her glasses flying across the room.
Oh, Lord.
That is, to me, absolutely unacceptable, because it was a Black male slapping a female. And I just feel like that if we continue to allow that to escalate, we're putting not only the teachers at risk, but we're also putting other students in the room at risk. And we need to de-escalate that.
That's
right. Is the answer putting guns in those particular classrooms? Absolutely not. But the answer could be that students know that there are procedures and policies in place that if someone feels like their life is in danger, that they can use it. I think that speaks volumes not only to the students, but it also could speak volumes to the staff as well as the community.
Well, speaking of mitigating against danger, Instagram is to test blurring nudity in messages to protect teens from what's called sextortion. Sextortion, that's what it's called. Instagram said it plans to test this new feature in an effort to curb sextortion on its platform. The nudity protection feature, which has several functions, is designed to help prevent users from receiving unwanted sexual images and encourage people to think twice before sending nude images. That's according to a post that was published to the platform just yesterday. The feature, which will automatically be turned on for users under the age of 18, will blur images that are detected as containing nudity. There will also be a warning that reads, "Photo may contain nudity." So for people that don't want this feature, you don't have to worry about it unless you are under 18.
Right.
Instagram said it will automatically be turned on for users under the age of 18, but I suspect that means for people over the age of 18 that don't want any unwanted nude photos, you're gonna have a new friend, a new tool to be able to turn on to keep that from happening. What say you?
You know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm 110% here for it because too much is happening in these schools and for these underage individuals in receiving
and in these
new
streets.
pictures, right? And on top of that, let me tell you the worst part, Dr. Nii-Quartelai. The worst part is we're finding that a lot of people that are being sextorted are resulting to suicide. So the suicide rate associated with sextorting by young girls that are being extorted for their nudes because they're so embarrassed by their classmates that they're resulting to suicide. That's where I'm concerned. Also, you just have some very sick people out there. Remember, this week we learned of a daycare worker who is texting a 10-year-old boy her body parts and having an it's inappropriate. It's basically illegal relationship with a 10-year-old boy that started with pictures. I feel like anything that's going to decrease pedophilia, anything that's going to decrease suicide for our young girls and boys, anything that's going to help in that mental health space of decreasing sexual assault or anything illegal like that for young kids, I'm all for it.
And I'm with you. I think that is the right side of history on these things. When we come forward, Unilever is scaling back their environmental and social pledges. And then a little bit later, we're going to talk about how J. Cole has expressed some regret over dissing Kendrick Lamar. We're going to tell you all about that. And we're going to hear what Judge Al Reynolds has to say about it. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA Can also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA Can believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Did you know there is a healthcare system serving our community whose vision is health for a better world? What if I told you? One of our nation's leading healthcare providers has a department dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Providence is Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network with 11 hospitals and 40 urgent care centers. Providence treats each patient with the compassionate care they deserve, when and where they need it. Most importantly, Providence is a diverse family of people and organizations driven by the belief that health is a human right. Providence takes pride in forming community alliances that address health concerns that disproportionately impact those communities. For Minority Health Month, Providence is sponsoring Health for a Better World, informative conversations with Providence health professionals on urban family focus every Saturday in April at 7 a.m. Get to know more at providence.org.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and we're here with Judge Al Reynolds. You can also catch Al on TGIF, that's Fox Soul's hit show, where, look, if you're looking for somebody who is also tracking what's happening, not just in the news, but in the court of public opinion, look no further. We're so glad to have you here. But we're not so glad to share this story. The Guardian is reporting that Unilever is to scale back environmental and social pledges. Unilever is to scale back its environmental and social aims, provoking critics to say its board should, quote, hang their heads in shame. The consumer goods company behind brands ranging from Dove beauty products to Ben & Jerry's ice cream is seen as perhaps the foremost proponent of corporate ethics, particularly under the tenure of its Dutch former boss, Paul Polman. Today, the London-based firm's current chief executive appeared to signal a strategic U-turn for the company, which is valued at 94 billion pounds on the London Stock Exchange. In an interview with Bloomberg, plans were confirmed to water down the company's ethical pledges on a range of issues, including plastic usage and pay. This shift is amid a wider trend of pressure from shareholders and corporations ranging from banks to oil companies to cut costs and focus more on stock market performance than green projects. Unilever is one of the largest users of plastic packaging in the world and had previously promised to halve its use of virgin plastics by 2025. Instead, it will now aim for a reduction of a third by 2026. That's what's been reported by Bloomberg. Not so exciting news for people that are proponents of environmental justice right now.
Sorry, I was muted. I was sitting here. I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. But you know what? When we live in a capitalist society now, where stockholders have a larger voice now, and stock price and where it's trending is speaking over social and environmental issues, and that to me makes it really, really sad. Because I've always looked at Unilever, and I'm sure you did too. We know that Unilever had pledged $1 billion in this space. And as companies take that, especially as a consumer-based product, firm. When companies like that speak volumes into that space of clean and green, in climate control, they were one of the leaders in this space. When they start to pull back, that then gives everyone else the kind of wink of the eye that they too can do the same. And that's very disturbing to me, just in generally, because we see what's happening with climate control. If you lived in Los Angeles, we have everything from not enough water. We have water controls on when we can water our lawns. You have now earthquakes in New York City. When's the last time there was an earthquake in New York City? You experience earthquakes in Los Angeles. It's starting to, and then just look at the weather right now. Look at the weather in some places where it's normally spring and April flowers, right? Like whatever that saying is.
April flowers bring May showers.
Yeah, right. So it's like you're seeing the opposite of that. I this is just unfortunate. But listen, this is what happens when you're focusing on the stock price and not on the stock of the human life.
Yeah, and just to your point about that binary choice, which I think some people, a lot of folks, a lot of our leaders, learners, and listeners might refer to that as a false choice. My mind goes to, well, what does this mean in terms of some of the other commitments that they've made in support of social and economic justice, for example.
Right.
Their position on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, for example, because for a long time, environmental initiatives were perceived as being safe, right?
Right.
A lot of companies said, okay, we're going to double down on environment, right? As opposed to delving into social issues that may be a bit more dicey. So this is a part of a larger trend where we're seeing corporations, sort of stepping back,
Right.
from advancing the very issues that impact consumers every single day.
I think you hit it on the head. Oh my gosh, I wanted to enter into that space with this conversation, but I wasn't sure where you were going with it. Now, remember, Unilever used to be a beacon of diversity and inclusion. Inclusivity was their thing. They have 250,000, if I'm not mistaken. They have 250,000 of people, right, that represent 250,000 of their employees represent 150 nationalities. How incredible is that? And that's why I've always followed them. And that's why I've always supported them as a consumer. And I buy their products because of that. They value diversity. They value the inclusivity. And for them to make this announcement on environmental and social, you're 100% correct. That is their way of saying, listen, we're going to start defunding exclusivity. We're going to start defunding diversity. We're going to start defunding inclusion as it related to not only our employees, but the communities in which we support it. That to me is another red flag. But I find it interesting how in order for the stock price not to hemorrhage, they housed it under environmental and social issues. So I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up, but I was like, I don't know if he wants to go there with this because, yeah. In the court of public opinion, right? In the court, as the judge of the court of public opinion, I think it's fair for us to say that we should be concerned because when big companies like this that have such a diverse workforce base, right, and has such a diverse participation in giving money to underserved communities and the marginalized communities like the African Americans or the Hispanics, when you start seeing them move dollars out of that space, it just gives other companies the right to do it as well. So I'm a little bit disappointed as well as it relates to them housing this also under environmental and social.
That's right. It's going to have a ripple effect in terms of corporate social responsibility initiatives in a lot of places. In our final moments with Al Reynolds, I'd be remiss if I didn't share this story that was reported by NBC News. J. Cole expresses regret over Kendrick Lamar diss. Listen to this. J. Cole said that there's one part of his new album that he's not proud of, a track in which he disses Kendrick Lamar, one of my faves. The artist who dropped his album Might Delete Later, that's the name of the album, that dropped today. He released a track titled 7-Minute Drill, which features a verse that takes aim at the fellow rapper. You all might remember that Kendrick Lamar is the first rapper to win a Pulitzer Prize in 2018.
Right.
and had taken shots at Cole and Drake in a guest verse on the song Like That by rapper Future and producer Metro Boomin. And so it's not like this came out of nowhere, but did J. Cole do the honorable thing and just, come out quick and say, look, I did it. I'm not proud of it. Nothing to see here.
You know what? I got to tell you, these two African-American men, very successful, top of their game in entertainment and music. I liked it. I think it takes a very big man, a very big person to admit to something like this. He's basically saying, look, I didn't have to do that. I was being petty. I was in my feelings, and I'm bigger than that. I'm smarter than that. And we are both successful, and there's enough space, there's enough money to go around for all of us. And we don't have to participate in this mudslinging that you see in these rap lyrics. I personally feel like I enjoyed it. I don't look at him as less of a man for making that statement, because he got a lot of flack on Instagram and social media for admitting this. I think that him taking the social responsibility and understanding his influence and saying, hey, as a man, as a successful person in this space, as one of the best in the game, for him to say it out of his mouth just serves as an example for others, because we don't communicate like this anymore in the business.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we
take it to the streets, and we don't take it to the streets and beat up people. We used to take it to the lyrics.
And we take it to the lyrics. And now we got to take it to the next hour. My thanks to Judge Reynolds. Be sure to check him out on Fox Soul's TGIF and on his very own show on YouTube. My thanks to The Village, helps us to produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer extraordinaire, Miles Lowe, our show producer, Robert Battles, and our podcast publishing guru, my man, Odell Bodie. Remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. You've been listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Have a good weekend.
KBLA 1580 Santa